Senior pastor here at Purpose of Life Ministries, president of the Concerned Clergy of Indianapolis. We're honored to host this press conference as communities across our city lift their voices on what is at stake for the future of public education in Indianapolis. Today is about the people's proposal, a call to ensure that the structure governing our children's education is democratic, accountable, and rooted in the community, not politics. Over the past several months, the Indianapolis Local Education Alliance has been developing recommendations on transportation, facilities, and governance. And while there are areas of agreement across many stakeholders, the governance question is where we must speak with clarity. According to the governance slides presented at the public ALEA meeting, specifically options 2 and 3, which have been handouts that's been given to you, decision-making over IPS schools would be shifted away from the elected IPS board and placed under mayoral appointees or a mayor-controlled education authority. Let me say this clearly. No mayor, in my opinion, current or future, should have the power to control public education for the children of this city. Not because mayors are incapable, not because collaboration is unimportant, but because public schools belong to the public. The public exercises its voice through elections. When governance moves from elected representation to political appointment, communities, especially black and brown communities, lose power and lose the ability to shape the schools their children attend. This city has endured enough experiments imposed upon us without our consent. Today, we're raising our voices to insist on this principle. Educational governance must remain in the hands of a democratically elected IPS school board. Anything else is a step backwards from transparency, accountability, and local control. We thank our partners, parents, educators, unions, advocacy organizations, and clergy who are gathered here with us. We also welcome the elected officials who support community-driven education, who stand behind this belief today as well. Let's begin this press conference with conviction, with clarity, and with unity. Our children deserve governance driven by community, not politics, equity, not expedience, democracy, not appointment. Thank you for being here. We're going to proceed. First, we're going to hear from IPS Commissioner Dr. Gail Cosby.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. My section of the agenda is called What's at Stake, and I really felt there were so many directions in which I could take that because what's really at stake is much more than tax money, it's much more than properties, it's much more than buses, it's children, and I think we need to, I'm going to bring us home to that at the end. But I stand here not just as a member of the IPS board, but as a steward of a precious democratic institution. For generations, the city has understood that the education of our children is a public good, overseen by public elected servants. The proposals that were put forth by the ILEA are not just tweaks to this system, they are a fundamental assault on that democratic principle. The ILEA represents the tipping point, the culmination of over a decade of quiet, creeping privatization of our public education, a shift of resources, buildings, and control away from the hands of the community and into the hands of appointed, unaccountable bodies. This assault is led by special interest groups, all of which have taken donations from billionaires to fund the privatizing of public education in our city. These organizations have worked together to privatize different functions of IPS. For example, the nonprofit Enroll Indy once was the enrollment office of IPS. The current work of the ILEA is continuing to do the exact same thing, but now with our transportation and our facilities, otherwise known as the IPS Operations Office. So let's talk about what happens when you substitute public democracy for private control. When you treat a child's education like a marketplace, you introduce a profit motive, and that is where our public resources disappear. When public resources disappear, that ultimately affects every child in every classroom. We lose an educated citizenry of people. So talking about what's at stake is our children's ability to think critically about what is being done to them and not what's being done for them. And unlike the folks that are here tonight, we're going to lose an entire generation of children that have the ability to think critically, show up, and speak out. A miseducated generation of children produces a generation of children who will suffer because they were not uplifted through a proper education. Instead, they were treated as a means to profit. The goal of a publicly elected board is simple: maximize the resources that reach the classroom. The goal of a private or a for-profit entity is to maximize their return for shareholders or investors. The community testimony that's been heard by both the IPS Community Conversations and the ILEA has been overwhelmingly clear. Our community wants to maintain the authority of its elected school board. We have worked hard to get a voice, and as Superintendent Johnson has rightfully stated, that voice must not be diminished. Yet, despite this overwhelming public demand that we've heard, the ILEA majority has chosen two governance models, Models 2 and 3, that fundamentally diminish the power of your vote and our board. To be clear, we wholeheartedly reject these models. You have a handout on them. I'm going to give you an overview. Model 2 creates an advisory board of appointed officials, mayoral, charter, and IPS appointees, where the ultimate decision-making power and control of property tax dollars are stripped from the elected board and handed to a new collaborative compact. Model 3 goes even further, creating a separate Indianapolis Education Authority led by a mayorally appointed Secretary of Education with a board where the mayor controls a majority of the votes. This is not collaboration. This is consolidation of power into non-elected hands. Both models achieve the same goal. They take the essential public services, facilities, and transportation paid for by your property taxes, and they move them outside the democratic control of the IPS board, making it easier for charter schools, which are already supported by outside groups, to access public assets with less public accountability. Let us be clear, when you remove the power to control the budget for our facilities and our buses, you remove the true power of an elected board. You're left with a board that can govern in name, but cannot govern in fact. The ILEA did not recommend the most drastic model, the one that would have completely stripped the district of the elected school board, but make no mistake, what's in front of you, Models 2 and Models 3, are the bridge to the same outcome. If we allow appointed authorities to manage our property tax dollars, our building, and our transportation resources, the question quickly becomes, why would we even need an elected board at all? The prediction is simple and terrifying. Once the operational power is stripped, the elected board is just a short legislative vote away from being dissolved entirely. We call on the state legislator to heed the voice of the community. We are not calling for inertia. We're calling for accountability, and we're calling for true partnership, not a takeover that's cloaked in efficiency. When you effectively silence people, making important decisions at inconveniently timed meetings, giving them only 60 seconds to share thoughts before cutting off their microphone, your attempt to silence the people of Indianapolis will only have the opposite effect. We will be heard. We will get louder. We will get stronger until our voices are reflected by the elected officials that we vote for at all levels of government. That is the power of democracy, and we will protect it at all costs. Protect your vote, protect your voice, protect public education. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adria McLeod. I am an IPS educator, parent, a member organizer for IEA, but today I represent the Central Indiana DSA's fully funded, fully public campaign as co-chair. Last evening, the Indianapolis Local Education Alliance moved 2 options for governance structure changes forward. Both of these options eliminate a fully democratically elected school board. Neither of them solve the real problems that threaten quality public education in Indianapolis. ILEA members, parents, teachers, advocates for both traditional public schools and charters all agree on the value of a unified school system, but this is not the way. The best unified school district would be ultimately accountable to the public via a democratically elected board. The ILEA's other proposed options add needless complexity and create further opportunities for wealthy private actors to personally profit rather than address the real issues: underfunding, systemic racism, and a lack of public accountability. Today, I am here to share a governance model we call the People's Proposal. A governance model that unifies charter schools, innovation schools, and traditional public schools under the democratically elected public school board that will provide all families and community members with a voice and a choice. It will create a stable, effective, innovative, and high-quality education system for all students. Under this plan, charter students and parents will finally have an accountable board that represents them democratically without sacrificing their school choice. Similarly, IPS and innovation school parents will have the flexibility to exercise school choice without exiting their stable public school system. These are the key elements of the People's Proposal. Fully elected public school board. This board is democratically elected, voted in, and held accountable by all district constituents and representative of all families, regardless of school type. This board is the highest level governing body for all schools and district boundaries. Neither the OEI nor any mayorally appointed board can be allowed to overrule the decisions of those who directly represent school families. 1 charter authorizer. Shifting charter authorization to a single authorizer, the fully elected school board, would make real accountability possible. This ensures that schools' first priorities are serving the needs of students and filling gaps even when those needs come into conflict with the desires of wealthy political actors. One moment. Transportation and facilities. The elected school board stewards operations. Continuing to operate facilities under IPS ensures minimal disruption to parents, families, and educators while preserving the expertise and continuity of IPS services. This model would provide intentional, equitable distribution of resources, facilities, and transportation across school types, a key legislative mandate of the ILEA. Equitable standards. Elected school board creates policy. Situating policy-making authority under a single elected board creates fair, equitable, and consistent standards for all school types while preserving what makes each school unique. True collaboration. Elected school board facilitates school choice. Unifying district-managed schools, innovation schools, and independent charter schools under one governance structure would make all schools eligible for funding from one pot of money. This will end the competition for resources between IPS and charters once and for all. Equity and right sizing. In the unfortunate circumstance when schools must close, an accountable school board acting with community input and applying universal criteria that promote racial, economic, and geographic equity is the best actor to make these tough decisions. We call on the ILEA to adopt the principles stated here, a fully realizable vision for ending competition over resources in the most oppressed district of Indianapolis and building a unified, cooperative, and just, fully public school system. Is it you? Who's next?
Well done. Well, I'm honored to follow Adria. Hi, my name is Kristen Fair, and I'm a proud board member of the IPS Parent Council. We are an independent, parent-led coalition of 400 members and growing who are advocating for transparency, stability, and equity across Indianapolis public schools. Okay. Whew. Last night, the ILEA eliminated the only governance model that preserved a fully democratically elected school board. This left more than 1,000 families who signed our community letter feeling unheard and dismissed. So far, the ILEA process has raised serious red flags. It's not transparent, it ignores community input, and it doesn't address the real challenges our schools face. Parents have consistent, serious concerns. The weakening of democratic oversight, the creation of new authorities with unclear accountability over transportation, facilities, and public funds, and a rushed timeline that has allowed only limited and shallow engagement. There is no evidence that these changes will benefit our kids. We are frustrated that ILEA has not communicated clearly or provided timely information about engagement opportunities. It is equally troubling that our parent community is barely represented on the ILEA itself, with only one IPS parent who is serving in a dual role as teacher representative. That is neither proportional nor meaningful engagement. If ILEA recommendations are going to carry weight, they must be informed by our community, not shaped to fit legislative preferences. Giving parents 60 seconds to rush through the insight they have about their children's education is not engagement. It reduces our experiences to sound bites and does nothing to produce thoughtful or effective policy. Parents and educators need a real seat at the table, not a moment at the microphone after decisions have been made. ILEA's charge should be to do what is best for the communities they serve, not what the legislature finds easiest to accept. The Parent Council is calling on ILEA to slow down this process, put every governance option back on the table, and engage families where we are, including in our schools, with true dialogue rather than one-way presentations. Please protect democratic governance and prioritize student stability over structural experimentation. We urge the ILEA to seriously consider the people's proposal shared today, the only model that both reflects what parents want and maintains democratic control. My final message tonight is to parents and caregivers. IPS needs you. Our public schools need you. If you value public education, we need your support. Please join us at ips-parent-council.org. Your voice matters and your presence matters. Together, we can demand the strong, well-funded public schools all of our kids deserve, with IPS at the helm. Okay, Hannah?
Hi, my name is Hannah Marley, and I teach English as a new language at Crispus Attucks High School, but I am here tonight representing the Indianapolis Education Association. The IEA fully supports the people's proposal for a voice and a choice in public education, authored by Central Indiana Democratic Socialists of America, joining the coalition of public school organizations and advocates here today. This proposal preserves and empowers the democratically elected IPS school board, a key priority for the community we serve. Having a fully elected board gives the educators that make up our membership the ability to advocate for their profession, schools, students, and families, as many of you have seen throughout these months of ILEA and school board meetings. Teachers are the backbone of our education system. We have dedicated our careers to caring for and educating our students. the students of Indianapolis. Our voice and the ability to advocate and be democratically represented in any decision-making around education is of vital importance to the IEA, the coalition before you, our communities, and most importantly, for the well-being of our students. As such, we also demand the expansion of collective bargaining rights for all teachers, yes, regardless of school type. Any plan must include neutrality towards union organizing activities in IPS public, innovation, and charter schools. Collective bargaining ensures that educators have a seat at the table and the power to craft contracts in partnership with a district that represents the needs of all educators. Listening to teachers at the bargaining table leads to contracts that have the power to retain strong educators and ensure that the district that relies on teacher labor to carry out its duties is likewise offering fair and competitive compensation and benefits. Collective bargaining allows for collaborative conversations between administrators and educators to ensure the best learning conditions for all students we serve. As the foot soldiers on the ground, teachers are the most aware of the challenges facing students in the classroom. The union is a benefit not just for educators, but for the students we serve and advocate for as well. Additionally, the People's Proposal retains IPS control of facilities and transportation. The ILEA itself has praised the expertise and efficiency of IPS facilities and transportation services in managing what many have correctly described as the complex task of getting 40,000 kids to school and back every morning and afternoon across this city. We believe that as we expand to a single unified system, that IPS should maintain its role as the provider of these services, overseen by the fully elected school board. IPS has already proven that they are able to handle transportation and facilities by providing these services for 70% of the city and should be trusted as we move forward. Many community members, parents, teachers, and students want this proposal. The ILEA has heard from countless stakeholders in this fight, yet as evidenced by the board's decision not to consider governance option 1 at their meeting last night, and their poor planning, which disenfranchised the very community members they claim to listen to, we are disappointed to say that we do not feel that the mayor's office or the ILEA is listening to the very communities who are most impacted by their decision-making: educators, parents, and students. It is for these reasons that we, along with the Coalition of Public Education Advocates represented here this afternoon, support the People's Proposal for a Voice and a Choice, which preserves the democratic representation of the school board, recognizes the expertise of IPS facilities and transportation services, and allows for the choice and flexibility asked for by parents in the community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Brown. I am proud to be the representative on the City County Council for District 13. Also a homeowner for 17 years now, always paying taxes into Center Township. Proud to pay, though I have no children myself, of my own, for the children of this township and this city. Tonight I'm here talking about leadership and democracy. I want to address the elephant in the room, the news that's been nonstop on the airwaves across the city and in fact state all week. Our Republican legislators in the State House, who by the way are the same group of people who are contemplating carving up Marion County to stop our voters from choosing their own destiny, are the ones who have demanded the IPS surrender its resources to unelected and unaccountable charter schools. There's a clear parallel between those two decisions. But in response to this, our mayor, Joe Hogsett, intervened to these Republican legislators to ask them to create the Indianapolis Local Education Alliance. That's what two different Republican legislators told me to my face in committee hearings earlier this year. And further, according to the media, the mayor is the one who asked to let this alliance be exempt from the open door laws so that decisions and conversations could happen behind closed doors. That means our mayor literally worked hand in hand with these Republicans to facilitate this transfer of tax dollars and taxpayer-funded resources away from our democratic control. Yes, he must. At the previous ILEA meeting on November 19th, which I sat through for almost 4 hours, Mayor Hogsett and the project manager funder of his, who's earning $40,000 a month for his role in the alliance, both committed to consider more options than the 4 governance models that they presented that evening. They swore up and down that these were just starting points for the conversation and that no decision was final. There was still plenty of time to consider other ideas. Yet, at the very next meeting, which was yesterday, they had apparently changed their minds. They held a vote to narrow down the list of options under consideration. Yesterday's meeting, by the way, was held at 4 p.m. You could go onto the city's taxpayer-funded website for the ILEA right now and see that they mention all public meetings are held at 6 o'clock p.m. But again, they changed their mind. Time and time again, commitments to the public are simply discarded, just like the way the mayor is attempting to discard the elected school board's authority. He has attempted to dilute this authority and greatly reduce their power to govern IPS. When it came down to a vote, the people of Center Township chose 7 women of color to be their duly elected representatives to help fairly govern Indianapolis public schools. And yet, State House representatives from outside of Center Township are working hard to usurp these women's power. And our mayor is working quietly behind closed doors with these same Republicans towards these same goals. Indeed, it is this very misleadership and political cowardice of the mayor that has emboldened the State House to even take these increasingly aggressive stances, both against our children and against our voting rights. As a proud member of the Central Indiana Democratic Socialists of America, and as a city county councilor whose district lies entirely in the IPS boundaries, I'm proud to endorse the fully funded, fully public People's Proposal where everyone has a voice and a choice. Thank you.
As we close this press conference, I want to make one thing unmistakably clear. Indianapolis wants collaboration, but we reject any consolidation of power over our public schools. The governance options being advanced shift authority away from the democratically elected IPS board into the hands of the mayor's office. And today, this broad coalition has spoken with one loud voice, one unified voice. That's unacceptable. We want a voice and a choice. Our schools belong to the people, to the voters, to the families, to the communities who depend on them. They do not belong to any one individual or administration or political appointment. We're calling on ILEA to stand on the side of democracy, keep governance with an elected IPS board, trust the voters, honor the community's voice, protect public education. To every organizer, educator, parent, faith leader, and elected officials here today, I want to personally say thank you. Your presence sends a message that cannot be ignored. This press conference may end here, but our advocacy doesn't stop. We will remain united. We will remain vocal. We will continue this fight until the governance of Indianapolis public education reflects the will of the people that it serves. Again, thank you. Let's stay strong in this work. I'm going to ask all that would, if you will come up front. We'd like to capture one picture, if you would, of those who are willing to take a stand and be, we're not operating in fear. Amen. And to the media that's here, the speakers will be available if you want any individual interviews. Come on up. We're going to grab a picture. Thanks for coming, everybody.